Hello, my friends. Happy spring, happy Easter, and happy Passover. And in honor of spring, we are making the spring fling bracelet today. So this is what we're making, and I am going to share a slightly different technique for making wrapped loops. So we are going to be making loops that are double looped and double wrapped. So that's a little bit exciting. This is something that we have not done before. And on top of that, I'm super excited about the jump rings that I'm using today. So I have been on a quest to find the best jump rings I can find. Because it does make a huge difference as far as how your jump rings are cut. And it may sound so insignificant, but those of you who work with jump rings, you know the pain of having jump rings that are not quite up to par. So I am very happy to announce that we may have just found the perfect jump rings. And you guys can help me decide whether these are the perfect jump rings. So if and when you order this kit, please let me know how you felt about the jump rings. My feeling is that we just might be switching all of our jump rings to these. Unfortunately, we did not get enough to sell them just on their own, not just yet. We're still experimenting, but this could be a very exciting discovery. So let's get started. This is what the bracelet looks like. Here, I'll put the little extender chain on the side that you guys can see. And of course, I will model it for you. So we're going to clasp right into the extender chain, which incidentally is also made with these amazing jump rings. And when I tell you that I have been on this quest, I'm not exaggerating. I have been looking forever. Generally, when we get the sterling jump rings or gold-filled jump rings, they're made very well. But I've been having a little bit of an issue with the jump rings we have been using. So, it's about teamwork, ladies. And I really do hope to get some feedback on these. So in the meantime, I will try to contain my excitement until I hear from you. So this is what the bracelet looks like. There is a whole gemstone collection in this bracelet. So let me walk you through it. There is a little copperite bead. Then we have a copper edged spiny oyster. Then we have charoite, amazonite, another beautiful copper bead, or copper edged rather, pearl. Then we have a lovely very saturated rhodochrosite bead, and of course the amethyst. And then for my little tassel or bauble, I have a spiny oyster heart, and I'm sorry, this is the copperite, and a pearl. And this was actually the chrysocolla quartz. I misspoke earlier. And you will get a couple of beads that I'm not actually showing in the bracelet as the extra beads, should you need to make it just a little longer. So we can add a couple more links, and that will make it up to 1.5 inches longer. So that is what we're making, and in the meantime, I'm just going to take this off now that we've seen all the fun little treasures in the bracelet. And I'm going to show you this new technique, and we're going to create a bracelet.
Fonda says, good evening, everyone. Happy Thursday.
Hi, Fonda, and happy Thursday to you, my friend.
And Trudy says, good evening, everyone. Love this bracelet.
Oh, thank you so much, Trudy, and hello.
Lori says, good evening, good evening, Irina and Tony and everyone.
Good evening, Lori.
And sends bunnies and hearts.
Yay, bunnies and hearts. Woohoo. What about the chicks? Send me some chicks.
Fonda says, just purchased my kit.
Oh, yay. Thank you so much, Fonda. I so hope you enjoy it.
Which leads us into it's on the Eclectica
Yes.
online shop, not on Etsy. And there will be a link in the comments for that.
Yes. Again, this is kind of a new thing. So we're no longer listing the new projects in the Etsy shop, but rather in our online shop. And of course, we will have them in our brick and mortar store. So lots of interesting changes taking place. Of course, the fact that we are no longer putting the new projects in the Etsy shop. And, we're still kind of in a little bit of a state of flux. We're deciding what to do with our Etsy shop. We're not doing away with the Etsy shop at this point, but we are getting ready to have a really awesome sale in the Etsy shop. So please watch out for it. We might just start it next week. So anyway, so that's one of the changes. And of course, the other change is that Facebook is no longer supporting videos over 30 days. So those are going to be found on YouTube. And yes, it's a bit of a pain in the bahookie. If you think it's a pain for you, oh my goodness, it is such a pain for us right now. But it's all right, we're going to solve it, and life goes on, and we're still going to have cool kits. So, it's all good.
Barb says, good evening, everyone.
Hi, Barb, and thanks for joining us.
Katie says, happy Thursday, all.
Hi, Katie, and happy Thursday, my friend.
And Lori has sent your chicks.
Oh, Lori, you're so cute. Thank you so much for the chicks. Okay, so we have bunnies, we have chicks, and we have a spring fling bracelet right here.
Katie says, what is the large blue stone?
So I'm thinking you're probably asking about the central stone, which is Amazonite. And so that brings me to the next point. When you guys get your kit, this is, I like to give a little disclaimer that there are going to be slight differences because these are natural stones. So you see the Amazonites as a slightly, I guess, more subdued tone of it, and then a slightly brighter tone of Amazonite. So the same is going to be true with nearly every bead because it is nature's creation. So to some extent, every one of these bracelets is going to be unique.
Fonda says, a little off topic, do you have 14 gauge wire in the Etsy shop or in the store? We have it in the store.
Yes, I think we have it. I know for sure we have 16 gauge, and I think we have 14 gauge as well. But without checking, I'm so sorry, Fonda. I can't say 100%. I think we just got it in. Anyway, we'll just have to check later. Okay, my friends. So how about we make a bracelet? So this is a little bit exciting. I was playing with wire and I was thinking, I would like to make these loops, these wrap loops, just a little bit more interesting and a little bit more significant, something that adds a little bit more style as well as strength. So I'm really hoping that you can see very clearly that this almost appears as if there are two smaller jump rings side by side. So those are actually not jump rings, but rather double loops. So we have made loops that were double wrapped before, and generally we call them organic loops because they tend to turn out a little bit more organic. And today we are adding another element yet to our fun, funky loops. And that is we're going to make the actual loop as a double. So again, it's for both strength and style. So I'm going to show you how to make double wrapped double loops. Now try to say that 10 times. Okay, ladies, so generally when I make a loop, I start out by bending my wire approximately 1 inch from the end. However, we are going to use a little bit more wire for each one of these. So we're going to start at approximately 2 inches from the end. And so I didn't grab a ruler. This is approximately 2 inches. We'll go with that. And just so you know, I know some people really like to know how much wire am I actually using for this link. So I'm going to tell you, you're going to be using approximately 4.5 to 5 inches of wire based on the length of the bead. Obviously, for a larger bead, you might need a little bit more wire. And I generally use longer segments of wire, but if you can think in increments of 5, so for example, 15 inches will yield you 3 of these components, if that makes sense. That's how I do it. So what I'm going to do is start by bending the wire approximately 2 inches from the end, and this is a nice right angle, 90-degree angle. Just like we do every time we want to make a loop, whether it's wrap loop or just a plain loop. This is, of course, a wrapped loop. And I'm using my bail making pliers. Bail making pliers really is the only way to go for this technique. And if you already have bail making pliers, wonderful. If not, we do sell them. I don't actually know if we have them in the Etsy shop. Do we have them in the Etsy shop?
I think so.
Yes, and so we'll check, and if not, I will make it a point to feature tools one of these days. And when I do that, usually we give you a little bit of a special price. And so every round, well, it is a round nose of sorts, but it's really a bail making pliers. So this is the smallest size of bail making pliers, and it has 2 sides of slightly different diameter. So I'm going to use the larger side, which gives me approximately a 4mm loop. So I'm starting just like I would making any other wrapped loop. And so here, let me just show you what it looks like. It looks like a little question mark. And so that is our half a loop. And at this point, I am going to cross the wire over and make a loop that appears to be very centered. This is what we always do. And this is where it becomes just a little bit different. I'm going to just start wrapping around the jaw of my pliers and keep going like this until you have a loop. Well, you have 2 loops. Can you guys see the 2 loops?
Pam says, hello, what gauge wire are you using for the wrapped loops?
Hi, Pam, and thank you so much for asking. I'm using 22 gauge wire, and it does need to be half hard. And in base metal, half hard would be beadsmith wire, which we do have in the Etsy shop.
Ellie says, hi, this is a pretty mix of beads.
Hi, Ellie, and thank you so much, my friend. Okay, ladies, so now we just made a double loop, And we are going to make just 2 little coils, just like making a regular wrapped loop. So there it is. So since we are making double loop that is also double wrapped, we're going to let this long tail just hang there for a minute. And in the meantime, we're going to slide our lovely Amazonite bead onto the wire, and I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, meaning I will make a 90-degree angle, and I'm trying to make it so that it's in the same direction as the first loop. So this is what it looks like. Now notice I also left just a little bit of space that I can wrap into. So when we wrap our loop, that's a space we're going to be wrapping into. So this is what it looks like right now.
Katie S says, love it, such a simple change.
Oh, thank you so much, Katie. You know, it is a very simple change and it's subtle. If you don't look super closely, you don't know. But you know, those of us who build jewelry on a regular basis, to me, it just looks a little bit more interesting. So again, I'm going to start my wrapped loop, or rather just my loop. It's not wrapped at this point. And this is, I'm literally doing the same thing that I always do when I make a loop. I'm just centering the loop, so that's important. So my loop is centered, and I'm going to keep turning my bail making pliers, and occasionally I have to take it out so that I get this part out of the way of the wire. So that's the only thing that's going to be a little bit different. When we make a single loop, we don't have to take out our pliers, but when you make a double, you're just going to have to take it out so that you can keep going in the same direction with the wire. So now that I have my bead on and I have my double loop, I am now going to wrap the wire into our little space, and ideally we have exactly 2 little coils. So once we have that, we're going to keep wrapping. So the first time we coiled the wire, it was from the double loop to the bead. And now we're going in the opposite direction from the bead to the loop. And when we have either 2 or 3 coils, so on this side, it looks like I have 2 coils, and on this side, I have 2 coils as well. But this is going to be a little bit organic, so you might have a looser coil or a tighter coil. And when you have filled that little space, you just cut off the excess wire, just like I did. And we might as well do the same thing on the other side. So I am wrapping over my wrap, okay, or coiling over my coil. And again, we are just going to cut off our excess wire. And now we're going to use our chain nose to tuck in the end on both sides because we don't want it to be a weapon.
Kim K says, happy Thursday, sends a bunny. I love to make wire-wrapped bracelets, and this is so pretty.
Hi, Kim. Thank you so much. So glad you like it, and thank you for the bunny. We love bunnies. They're so cute. Okay, ladies. So we just made a component. So we have our double loop, nice and sturdy and fun. And through the magic of Facebook Live, I have all these other components that are already made. So we're going to lay them out the way we're going to connect them. Now, remember, as I mentioned earlier, you will have extra beads. So you can mix your beads in a different order if you want to. You can omit one of the beads or, well, the whole point, of course, is so that you can size your bracelet the way you really want to. So if you need a slightly larger size, just for a little reference, this, if you include the extender, this is just under 8 inches. So in the description, we said that you can make it up to 9 inches, but really it's more like up to about 9.5 inches. I always want to under promise and over deliver. So we have all of our little links that are made in the very same way. And now I'm going to use our magical jump rings to connect it all. And well, actually, we are going to connect a lobster clasp on one side. So you are going to get a lot of review of how to open and close jump rings. And I have to tell you, I know I said a lot of very nice things about these jump rings in the beginning, and I can't stop myself, you guys. So in the meantime, I'm just going to be opening all these jump rings. So it's always nice to do it a little bit assembly style, where you open a whole bunch of jump rings and then you don't have to open each one as you connect all of the elements. And I'm just going to point out how I'm holding my tools, the flat nose and the chain nose. It doesn't matter which hand you use to hold which. For me, I like holding the chain nose in my right hand. I am a righty. But, you know, try it both ways, see what you like. And also, let me point out that as I open each jump ring, I push the two sides of the jump ring ever so slightly closer together. And that is because when we connect our elements, so let's connect one right now. When we connect our elements, so now I'm connecting the amethyst to the lobster clasp. So because I push the two sides just a little closer together, I am going to, okay, these take a little work pushing them together. So I'm going to, of course I'm exaggerating it too a little bit so that we hear this nice click. And you guys heard the click, and that click tells us that there's no room whatsoever between the two sides. And we're going to continue doing that with each of the elements. As we connect, we're just going to really pay attention to hearing that click, or if you don't hear that click, you really should feel a little bit of tension as the two sides of our jump ring kind of rub together. So if you're feeling it, that is just as good as hearing the click. And then of course, visually, you want to just not see a gap between the two sides of the jump ring. So I'm no longer making a really big deal about hearing the click because I am really paying attention to how it feels. I'm literally feeling the two sides against one another, and then I'm also seeing that there's no gap. So we're going to continue connecting all of our jump rings. And of course, if you enjoy that click, then you have to work just a little bit harder to close the jump ring. So you have to make it just ever so slightly more overlapped. Okay, just like what I did just now.
Katie S says, LOL, it just occurred to me that I hold the flat nose in my right hand, but that is from watching you in videos. I just realized that you're actually holding it in your left hand. I'll have to try switching.
Yeah, you know what? It's because I'm a righty, I do more work with my right hand, right? So it seems to me that if you are a righty, well, either way, if you hold your flat nose with your non-dominant hand, the way I do it, and in the meantime, ladies, I have to open a few more jump rings. So the way I do it is so that I'm moving my right hand that much more, and my non-dominant or my left hand stays stationary. So so it just really works out really well for me. But honestly, there's no right or wrong as long as you're using the correct tools, however you want to use them, however you guys are comfortable, that makes it right. So I am making, or rather I'm opening a few more jump rings because these jump rings are so awesome. This is the first time, really, the first time ever, I'm pretty sure, that I'm using base metal jump rings to make a little extender chain, and I'm feeling good about it because these jump rings are not going to open. These are, we actually had them imported, they're made in Greece, and so far I am just so very, very impressed with them.
Cherie says, hello and happy Easter, Irina, Tony, and everyone, and sends flowers.
Thank you so much, Cherie, and happy Easter to you, my friend. So when you get to the last bead, and it may be the same bead, it may be a different bead. Remember, you're getting a few other beads, and so you can remix them however you want to. But when you get to your final bead, you can go ahead and close your jump ring, and then we're just going to continue to add more jump rings, and this is going to be for our extender chain. And you could stop at 3 or you could stop at 5, well, you know, whatever makes you happy. I am going to maybe do the same thing as I did in my sample, which is have 5 jump rings.
Kim K is wondering, do you ever use closed jump rings to connect the links, or is that not necessary? Maybe I should try a thicker gauge jump ring.
I absolutely do that, Cherie.
Kim K.
Oh, Kim, I'm sorry. So yes, Kim, thank you for asking. I do occasionally do that, but then you have to wrap around the jump ring because obviously you can't open the jump ring itself. So there's nothing wrong with that, but the reason I'm so happy about finding these jump rings is because they're so heavy and they're so well cut that when you actually close the two sides, you cannot tell where the opening is. I mean, these are fantastic. And I'm really hoping that everybody gets just as excited about these as I am. And perhaps we will actually get, you know, more to sell. So far, I only got just a little amount that I'm throwing into a few of the kits. And as I get some feedback from you guys, I will make them available for purchase, and also perhaps we'll get them in other sizes. Right now, we just have them in this one size. This is just kind of a sample run for us, so we'll see if everybody gets super excited. So in the meantime, we're going to be making a little bauble. So we're just going to put a few beads, and these are the beads that I have left over. So we're going to decide right now if we're doing the same. Maybe we are going to do the same for the bauble. I think I like how it turned out, so I'm going to use the copperite and we'll put it on a ball pin. And we're going to make a little wrap loop. Now, this is just going to be a regular wrap loop. Well, part of the reason is because we have a shorter length of wire, so we don't really have the luxury of wrapping it twice and then wrapping it some more. So that is also why I'm keeping the loop somewhat small. I am using my round nose to make the loop. But the good news is, you know how in your house there are walls that are weight bearing and there are walls that are not. So by the way, we're just making a little wrap loop, which most of you, I feel, are just expert at doing this. So that's why I'm not really going over it. But if you need directions on how to make a regular wrap loop, I have other videos. You can always find one on basics. And really, it's exactly the same as making a double loop, except you are just making one and not two. So I am pinching the end in. And again, through the magic of Facebook Live, we have 3 little bottles.
Pat says nice.
Thank you so much, Pat.
Katie S says, I would be interested in purchasing some of these jump rings. I like the thickness.
Oh, thank you so much, Katie. Just wait till you try them. I mean, okay, you guys have not heard me this excited about jump rings, I don't think ever. So believe me, this is literally something to jump for joy for. But I also want you to experience them and give me your feedback.
Barb says, I miss you carrying jump rings in quantity and in colors for all the chainmail projects. A chainmail bracelet was the very first class I took at your store.
Oh, thank you so much, Barb. You know what? I have to say, trends change, and unfortunately, I know some people really love chainmail, but it is so many different sizes to stock, and people do vote with their purchases. So unfortunately, a lot of people have sort of got away from using chainmail. But I hear you, Barb, and if I get other requests, I will reconsider. Thank you so much. So in the meantime, this is going to be our last little jump ring. So I'm keeping it open right here because we are going to string all of our final little baubles onto this jump ring. And we are going to close the jump ring. Oh, and this is a little bit awkward, so maybe I'll have to regrip this. It's not really awkward, it's just that there's so much that's on this jump ring. So I had to be a little careful. And that's it. So we just made a very similar spring fling bracelet. But as you can see, some of the colors and patterns of the stone will be a little bit different. You can see, but of course the overall look of the bracelet will be exactly the same. And again, you will need to size it to your wrist or the wrist of the perhaps lucky recipient of this bracelet. And so there will be a couple of extra beads if you do need to make it longer. Otherwise, it's very easy to make it longer or shorter. And again, for reference, the length of this one is about width. This is including the extender chain. It is approximately 7 3/4 inches. So it's very easy to make it whatever size you need.
Kim K says, I'm definitely interested in the jump rings.
Well, thank you so much. Now, I will tell you, these are definitely going to be just a little bit more expensive because they do come to us from Europe and blah, blah, blah. You know what that means. If they came from China, they would be a lot less, but then they would not be this amazing. but they are made in Greece. So, but you know, I do believe in paying for quality. So I'm glad you guys are getting excited about these. So again, whoever gets the kit, my next kit, by the way, is also using these very same jump rings. I guess this is probably a good time for a little preview.
Lori says, what is the size and thickness of the new jump rings, please?
You know what? That's a super good question. I may have to look it up, but I believe they are 18 gauge 6 millimeter. I'm not sure if they're 6 millimeter or 5.5, so I may have to tell you that next week, which next week we're going to be making pollinator earrings because, you know, pollinators are important and a lot of us support pollinators. We have a little butterfly garden, we have a bee garden, and so anyway, these are my pollinator earrings, and they're using the exact same size jump ring, so I will be sure to let you know what the exact size is. So in the meantime, ladies, tomorrow, which is Friday, April 18th at 9 a.m. Central Standard Time on the Eclectica Facebook page, I will be, so this is representing everything that I'm doing tomorrow. Does this look like the ocean? So I am going to have a beautiful ocean-inspired selection of pendants and strands. And they are in so many different shades of the ocean. Anything from as light as Larimar to as dark as sapphire and dark kyanite, and of course all the different shades in between. So that is going to be super exciting. Oh, and not to forget the Roman glass as well. So we'll have Roman glass and aquamarine, Amazonite, Larimar, a little more turquoise. I know we just did turquoise, but I found some more turquoise. So, so that is what we're exploring tomorrow. And then if you join me on Thursday, we will be making pollinator earrings. And if you guessed that this is the same technique we used a couple of weeks ago to make the eggs, you are correct. Remember those? Oh, I wish I would have grabbed one of the eggs, but I didn't. Anyway, you know, the ornament eggs that we made out of copper wire. And so this is the same technique that is greatly sized down. So I'm kind of excited about these earrings. And that is pretty much it. And of course, I'm again going to mention that now all of my directions, like today's directions for this bracelet, are going to be on YouTube. I think we're just putting them directly on YouTube.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
So, but they're also on Facebook for 30 days.
Yes.
Right. So, so they're on Facebook for 30 days, and they are on YouTube as of today. So whichever you like best. So I know that some of you have already been signing up for my YouTube channel, and thank you so much, my friends, for signing up. So the easiest way to follow is just sign up for YouTube. Don't worry, YouTube doesn't send you anything except a notification for anything you're signed up for. So it'll simply send you a notification that there's a video available and you can watch it. And I believe that's all, right?
Kim K says, beautiful project.
Thank you so much, Kim.
Katie says, I'd love to watch you tomorrow, but we'll be driving to Chicago to babysit.
Well, you know what? That is a really good reason not to watch tomorrow. And as you know, you can always watch later. If you want to watch sometime over the weekend or next week or whatever, you can do that. So, so yes, enjoy babysitting. That is just so exciting, and we'll hear from you later. So, okay, my friends. So I believe we are all done for today. So I hope you try those double wrapped double loops. They're a lot of fun, and the jump rings, they're exciting. So I will see you tomorrow, I guess, right? So thank you so much for watching, and thank you for the bunnies and the chicks and all of your wonderful comments and questions. And if I don't see you, have a wonderful Easter, have a wonderful Passover. But if you don't have plans for tomorrow, I would love to hear from you tomorrow. So join me at 9 a.m. for a really fun ocean-inspired shopping event. And thank you so much. Have a wonderful evening.